All right, so you want to be a pro staff member for a company in the fishing industry. Let me just say that I feel like I kind of have a unique perspective because I've been a professional bass angler for 20 years. And for the last 10 years, I've owned and ran Missile Baits, the fishing lure company within the fishing industry. So it kind of gives me a little different perspective than what most people I guess would have. I've had a lot of long-standing sponsorships, like with Bass Cat Boats, Mercury Outboards, Spro Corporation, designing baits for them, that kind of stuff. So I've got a lot of good long-standing relationships. I've had a number of relationships with companies, sponsorships, if you will, come and go, and that's part of it. So you want to know. We'll start with kind of the ground level. How do you get a company to notice you, right? How do you get a company to do things? And now we're in the age of social media. And so not everybody has to be a YouTuber, or everybody has to have 100,000 Twitter followers or Instagram followers or TikTok followers or anything like that. But there is a social media component. So we'll come back to the social media thing. So we've established social media is a factor in what value that anglers can bring to a fishing related company. And that's the way you need to look at it from the beginning. Is what value can you add to that company, not the other way around. That company's not going to add value to you. You don't need to look at it like that. You need to look at it as, what value can I add to Missile Baits, or what value can I add to Strike King, or whichever company that you might be dealing with. We establish one component of that is social media. Not everybody's going to be a guru with that. That's fine, but it's a component. You at least need to try. That's one part. Two is fishing tournaments. If it's bass fishing related, fishing tournaments can be a component. It's not everything. There are a lot of fishermen out there that for me at Missile Baits would provide a lot of value to Missile Baits that don't fish any tournaments. So tournaments are a factor, but they're definitely not everything. Social media, you got tournaments, and then you've got creating content. Now that's different than social media. Social media, you can create content and channel it through social media, but you can also create content and give it to those companies. We all love to go fishing, right? If we're out there going fishing and we take some good pictures, or we get a little cool video clip of you catching a fish using said product, whether it's you're using Sunline X-Plasma braid, and it's kind of a nice demonstration with it. If you take that and give it to the company, they might be able to use it on their social media channels. Huge value. You don't have to have your own social media channel. I think pretty much with all the smartphones today, almost anybody can create relatively decent video and be able to provide that to companies, or relatively decent photographs, and provide those to companies that you're looking. So that's three things right there. And number four is kind of like an old school thing, is just be there when they need you. And what I mean by that is if you have a couple days that you could give them, let's say that Missile Baits is going to be going to an outdoor consumer show, or Strike King could be going there, or Sunline could be going there. Their rep, which is another factor, their rep would be there, probably representing the company, and then you could, if you have a relationship with them, you could go and help them work and help educate consumers on what the product does, that kind of stuff. So those are kind of the four components, and the one that makes all of those run is what I mentioned in the last one, is establishing relationships. That's one of the things that I feel like really, really gets overlooked, is just first establish that relationship with the company. Nowadays, a lot of times you can do that through social media. You can establish that that relationship through social media. And you don't have to be the biggest account ever, but if you post good content, you communicate with that company by posting content or sending them messages and saying, hey man, I just just caught them really good last week on your Ned Bomb. Here's a picture of me holding up a 4-pounder with the Ned Bomb in its mouth. Maybe you could use that. That would be one thing. Or you could ask questions, good questions. Hey, I went here and caught them on this bait. Exactly what size head do I need for fishing in less than 6 feet of water? Things like that. Ask questions that are relative to their product line, and that can help establish that relationship. Then there's the huge factor that is a big deal for most companies, and that is being eyes on the ground, boots on the ground, if you will, and going to tackle shops all over the country. And it doesn't mean you're going into tackle shops and selling said product. We'll relate it back to missile baits. I'm not talking about somebody down in Mississippi walking into a tackle shop down there and saying, hey, I see you guys don't have any missile baits. Is there any way that you guys could order them? You need to get the D-bombs, you need to get this, you need to get that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you go into the store and you're like, man, hey, you guys don't have any missile baits. Why don't you have any missile baits? Well, I don't know. It's what everybody's using out there catching bass. Oh, okay, well, great. Who buys all the tackle here? Who's the buyer? Oh, Billy's the buyer here. Okay, cool. Have a good one. Send, Missile Baits a message and say, hey, I just went into XYZ tackle shop. Billy's the buyer. They don't have any missile baits. I asked him where the missile baits were. He said they didn't have any yet. You may want to call them. That kind of stuff adds tremendous value to any company, whether I'm, Strike King, Shimano, Daiwa, I don't care who it is. Helping with sales leads and just communicating to where you're like an extra set of eyes out there all over the country. I don't care what company it is. I don't care if it's Pure Fishing, one of the biggest companies in the fishing industry. They can use that type of information to help give to their reps, so then the reps can go right back in there. If that message gets back to the rep, that rep may even contact you, and that would be the best scenario, is if that rep contacts you directly. You get that relationship going. Then any other tackle shops, how to contact the rep for that area. And next thing you know, when that rep is going to recommend somebody for their pro staff, who do you think they're going to call? They're going to call you, the guy that's been getting them all these sales leads and been going around to these different tackle shops and helping them out with talking about the product. So that's kind of like the fifth portion of what you can do to benefit companies in the fishing industry. So let's go back to social media, because social media is a huge factor. The bigger your audience could be better, but it's not necessarily the case. Good content is big on social media. So let's just go back to missile baits one more time. If we're looking for something on social media and we see that somebody tagged us in a post, and in that post somebody says, hey, I was just fishing the Ned Bomb with the 16th ounce Ned ball, and that real slow fall was the deal. I just went out and caught 14 bass. Here's a 3-pounder that I just caught, the last one, and I've been using Green Pumpkin, Ghost Flash Tail, whatever color they're using. They can kind of explain that to you and educate people, and they tagged you. That's extremely useful. I promise you that our social media account will notice something to where you're educating anglers on how to use your product, what to use, and not just holding up an 8-pounder with a lure. Those are good posts. That kind of stuff is great as well, and it goes kind of across all channels. But adding in the education factor on how to use the product is huge. that can add tremendous value to a company, to where if you do that on a regular basis, a company like Missile Baits, most fishing companies out there are going to notice if you're doing that kind of stuff on a consistent basis, and they will probably contact you and repost your videos or your pictures especially if it's got that good education factor to it. Just try to go the extra mile to separate yourself from the other people out there trying to do the same thing. That's the best thing that I can tell you. We all love to go fishing, and we all want to represent the companies that we believe in, whether it's Z-Man or Zoom or whoever it is. And again, not every company is going to have that kind of interaction that say Missile Baits or Z-Man or some of the smaller companies might have. You might get some of the bigger companies like Rapala, and you may not get that kind of interaction, but then again, you may run into the companies that are big enough to where they have a dedicated person to run those social media channels, to where you might get that interaction because they have somebody that's dedicated to do it. So don't feel like the company's too big that you can't try to help them. And and it goes for St. Croix, Cash and Rods, whoever you might be interested in and want to represent. You just really believe in that brand. You really believe in made in the USA. That means something to you. So that's why you're really only interested in Cash and Rods and maybe St. Croix rods, because they're basically the only two made in the USA. Those kind of things. There's more baits made in the USA than other components. There's really hardly there's no reels made in the USA anymore, but that's a sidebar. So that's kind of the social media thing. Education. It's not about viral videos, in my opinion, for a bait company. Having something to where you're jumping off the boat, doing a backflip, holding a 3-pounder with the Missile Baits hat on. That might get 100,000 views, but that's not really the kind of content that Missile Baits really wants to share and put out there. Is it cool? Did it get 100,000 views? Maybe, but it's a gimmick, and people can see right through that. And if your channel has a bunch of gimmicky stuff on it, and you're out there only, harping on, hey, this product's the best, it's better than everybody else's stinks. It's just a commercial. It's going to come off as such. So be genuine. Education is a big factor on your social media. That will get you a long ways with the companies that you're looking to represent, and try to establish those relationships with people at those companies. A lot of times that can start through the social media. You can always just pick up the phone and call. You can do that as well. Introduce yourself to whoever, call and say, hey, can I speak with whoever handles the pro staff? Or, hey, I've got a sales lead. I'm in this tackle shop down here in Florida, and they don't have your product, and they said they would like to get it. My name is John, and I'm just trying to help you guys out. So whoever you can forward this to get the sales lead for XYZ tackle shop here in Florida, maybe that'll help you guys. I promise you, if that company is halfway decent, they will remember who you are, and they will try to take care of you. And next time they go to do their pro staff evaluations and your name pops up, they may notice that, especially if you do it a handful of times. So those kind of things can help you go the extra mile, and that's what I would be doing to try to separate myself from everybody else that's looking for one of those pro staff positions at said company. So if you got any more questions or any more tips, be sure to drop them down there in the comments, and do not forget to follow my page here. Hit the subscribe, like button, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to call it the right thing, it's fine. But drop that down there, and if you want to see any other videos, drop that down there as well. Thanks for watching.